Okay, well, thank you, everyone, and thank you to OIS for the invitation. Hopefully, I can actually even gain you a few more minutes. Most of you know our company, so I've got some standard information I'm going to show. I'll move through that fairly quickly. I've got a few interesting things that you may want to pay attention to, and I'll highlight that. So, forward-looking statements, we are publicly traded. We're committed to ophthalmology and very focused on delivering highly innovative ophthalmology drugs for serious eye diseases. Here's a quick look at our pipeline. You can see that we just launched 2 products this year. In the first quarter, I'll go over those products as well. And then we have our 6-month Yutiq implant, which we hope to file this year with the FDA. In addition, I'll cover briefly our tyrosine kinase inhibitor in our 6-month bioerodible implant. And then we have ongoing partnerships with primarily Alimera and collaborations. We often have people approach us, most of those we don't disclose, of people who want to use their molecules in our various technologies. This is our tyrosine kinase inhibitor. Again, I've showed these data before. We are making progress with this, and I hope next year to share more data. This is our PK data. In our 6-month bioerodible, you can see a very, very nice PK curve, goes out to 6 months. And of course, the goal here is to be able to deliver an anti-VEGF for wet AMD in 6 months. Now, turning to Dexycu. Dexycu, we just launched this year. We're very excited about it. It's a highly innovative product for post-operative inflammation following ocular surgery. We are focused right now on cataract, and we continue to look at other types of ocular surgery where it can be used as well. So what is it? It's a suspension that gets injected into the eye at the end of cataract surgery, releases dexamethasone over approximately 22 days, so potentially avoiding the need for steroid eye drops. Why is that important? Because physicians find it difficult for the callbacks that come into the office. I know one speaker showed what happens with these eye drop administrations. A lot of patients don't get them in the eye. They forget the dosing regimen. It is a complicated dosing regimen, can be, and particularly when you combine it with nonsteroidals and anti-infectives, it becomes very confusing to the caregivers and the patients. And basically, they call the office all the time, and everyone gets frustrated with this regimen. So it's nice to be able to offer one option to get to just an injection at the end of surgery with a single dose. Here's our efficacy data, and you can see very, very nice efficacy where we're showing basically 0 anterior chamber cells by day 8, compared to placebo at 20%, and it maintains that over 30 days. This again is looking, now turning to the one thing physicians, of course, are going to be concerned about is what happens to intraocular eye pressure when you're administering a steroid directly into the ocular space. And again, we've got very nice data here. We continue to show that you get a little bit of a spike on day 1, and then it quickly reduces and comes down to almost equal to placebo with very little increase, if any, all the way out through day 90. And I've got more data to show on this. This was actually a prednisolone versus prednisolone safety study that we did. And again, you can see on day 1, you get a little bit of a spike in IOP. Most physicians actually attribute this to probably the surgery itself. You can see even with prednisolone, you get that. And then it quickly dissipates down, and by day 8, it's virtually non-distinguishable from prednisolone and IOP. This actually breaks it out into even more data. And you can see when you break it out by rise in IOP, it's very modest. This is actually post-ocular day 1, post-ocular surgery day 1. By day 3, there's no difference at all. And you virtually have no increase versus what you see at baseline. And this is versus the prednisolone study. Again, very, very little difference. Both of them show some slight increase on day 1, but by day 8, day 30, day 90, no increase at all. Now I'm going to show you a quick video which goes into how Dexycu is administered. So you can see here, this is at the end of surgery, cataract's been removed, lens is placed in, you go anteriorly across the eye, into the sulcus, quickly take it out, and you're done. And you can see it sitting there poking out just a little bit. It'll sit there usually over about a day or 2, it dissipates, and then the patient can no longer see it. It doesn't interfere with vision at all, and we've had in the real world, we're seeing very good results with both efficacy and safety. And the safety profile is virtually comparable to placebo. Again, you want to make sure you don't have that elevation in IOP. And again, we didn't see it in the studies. We're not seeing it in real world practice. It does take a little bit to learn the technique, I will say. Sometimes that sphere can pop out into the anterior chamber. Doesn't seem to cause any problems when it does. But nevertheless, it does take a little bit of a technique just to learn how to administer that. Okay, now turning to Yutiq. Yutiq is for chronic non-infectious uveitis, terrible disease. This is the third leading cause of blindness. It's really a bad disease. Patients are scared. They're afraid of going blind. Unfortunately, a lot of them do go blind. It's chronic. It's lifelong. Average age is 42 when you're diagnosed. These are young patients. And I don't know about you, but if this were me, I would be afraid. And so what do you want? You want to prevent these flares, which are unpredictable that occur. Yutiq is a very, very tiny 3-year implant administered intravitreously, and it lasts for 3 years. For this particular indication, doctors and patients really like it because they know that in essence, they have really good protection for 3 years. It's a steroid, fluocinolone. This is our efficacy data versus sham. Sham really became standard of care because you can't deny patients to the care to these patients, and you'll see that you start to see a lot of use of rescue medication. But again, very good efficacy data in terms of reducing those flares. Every flare causes more loss of the photoreceptor cells, and ultimately that's what leads you to blindness. Here's our Kaplan-Meier curve. You can see a very, very nice Kaplan-Meier curve. Top line is the sham, which is really standard of care. Bottom line is Yutiq. And you can see, again, we're not a cure-all. You do see some recurrences, but it's much better than standard of care. And by year 3, all of a sudden you see that spike up, the implant's depleted, and you start to see the flares come back. So again, very, very nice efficacy data. This is new data that we're showing. This is now from our pivotal study, all the way out to 36 months or 3 years, and you can see cumulative recurrences. Take a look at 0 recurrences. The Yutiq is 43.7, as I said. 43 had no recurrences versus only 7 on sham or standard of care. Take a look at by 5. When you get out, you've got only 2.3% of patients have had more than 5 flares on Yutiq, but a whopping 26.2% on basically sham or standard of care. And again, this is what patients and physicians are trying to avoid. And then looking at, let me get to the next slide, local injections. So this is basically your rescue medications, those who are getting rescue intraocular steroid injections if they suspect a flare. And again, you can see that for Yutiq, you had 14.9% had only 1 over 3 years. You can see virtually none had 4 or more, but take a look at sham. You can see, again, a lot of rescue medications given to these sham or standard of care. And by 5 patients, had more than 5, 14.3% had more than 5 injections. That's a lot of injections. Safety profile, again, looks very, very good with this. Again, most doctors are going to pay attention to IOP. We're seeing very good results, very modest increases, 3 to 4 millimeters increased pressure, not a lot. Cataract, though, the drug does cause cataract, but unfortunately, these patients are usually all put on steroids, and cataract, unfortunately, happens to a lot of them. Financial highlights, we have $44 million as of June 30th. We have a $60 million debt facility from CRG. We've actually tapped into 50 of that, and we have 106 million of common shares outstanding. So in summary, we have 2 really terrific products on the market today, and we're quite excited about the future of our company. Thank you very much.